Welcome back to the channel, fellow renegades and loyalists. As Ave Dominus new back again with more 40k content, and this time I'm here to try to explain my stance on a certain controversial, to say the least, Primarch, and try to defend myself. But before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe. Kurz is standing over there watching, and he's got a bunch of claws on his hands, and them shits look like they hurt, so go ahead and do that. I made a which Primarch would be the best emperor and the worst emperor kind of tier list the other day, and if you watched the video, thank you for watching. I think it's a banger, but it definitely is inconsistent and definitely biased. So basically, I put Fulgrim pretty low on the tier list. There was the bottom tier that were people that shouldn't be anywhere near the throne, and I put him and Angron there. And Angron, I don't think anybody would have any arguments about that, but Fulgrim was a little bit of a stretch. I downplayed my man a little bit, but it was all for fun. But I get this comment. It comes from Durin God's Grief. Durin God's Grief. I apologize for butchering that. You sure don't like Fulgrim, because 100% sure you don't know his lore. This man took his shit stain of a planet and made that shit livable and invented culture for his world. He turned his legion from nothing into one of the tactically greatest legions, who could, as admitted by Gilliman, pull off their tactics better than they could, who made his legion one of the most beloved of all and extremely capable. And you put him and the guy who logistically would be on the level of Gilliman and tactically greater than most of his brothers beneath Mortarion, fucking Ferris, Bloody Russ, Pissy Percherabo, Corex, and the heavily insocial Lion. And the dumbasses of the Alpha Legion who somehow thought that the Emperor would be okay killing chaos at the cost of humanity, and even fucking Kurz, the literal psychopath. You definitely don't like Fulgrim, if not hate him. He edits and adds more things. I think it's worth mentioning. Fulgrim is literally just a more ostentatious version of Corax. Fulgrim came from nothing and became something, fighting for the rights of his downtrodden, and one of his moments with the Legionnaire, who heard a normal person, he told him that their duty is to protect the people and raise them up, and was an exceptional diplomat and extremely charismatic. I feel like he's spoiling the Fulgrim book for me. I was really about to read that. His limits was basically the Blight that reduces Legion to 200, which created an extreme reaction within him mentally, basically having an inferiority and imposter syndrome that drove his Legion over to compensate for the desire to perfection. Bro, why did I read that whole comment like that? I feel like, well, I told him that I was going to read the Palpatine Phoenix to get my Fulgrim lore right, but I feel like he kind of just like told me what happens in the book. I'm going to read it anyway, but that was a very interesting comment, and this is the kind of stuff I was really looking for on the channel. These are the kind of discussions I was hoping that my video would spark, though I hate to seem like I shit on Fulgrim too bad, but let me just explain myself why I put him so low in the first place, besides just being biased and not thinking about it too much. Fulgrim, my experience with Fulgrim, if there's any positive light to paint him in, it hasn't been in too many of the books that I read, because if you're getting that lore from Palpatine Phoenix, then that's all new to me, because it just is a book that I haven't read. But my first experience with Fulgrim actually comes from the Horus Heresy novel. I think it's book number 5 or book number 6, just entitled Fulgrim. And in that book, he was painted as a great leader that the people loved, but you could also see the cracks in his you could kind of see like the cracks in his morality even back then and stuff like that. The way he treated people, he definitely was stuck up. That being said, though, he seemed like a good guy, and my favorite thing about the Fulgrim book was actually seeing his relationship with Ferrus Manus. His brohood with Ferrus Manus and the stories about how they traded weapons and things like that, and how they were actually friends. How Ferrus got his nickname because Fulgrim called him the Gorgon, and he was like, I kind of like that shit. I love all that stuff about the book, and Fulgrim was somewhat endeared to me. But I think it kind of goes off a sharp edge because the incident with the sword happens pretty early in the book, and from there it's just like a slide into like not being such a good commander ever since he got it. So like, unfortunately, this is my experience with Fulgrim. Everything before then is like, all I have is just like hearsay from his own troops. And then we can fast forward into the Fabius Bio books that I just did reviews for. I did reviews for each one. Check those out if you're interested. His Legion didn't have too much good things to say about Fulgrim, unfortunately. While they knew that he was a brilliant commander and a crazy fighter and one of the best Primarchs, everything you say about bringing his legion from nothing is true or whatever, fixing the blight. But if anybody's aware of his flaws, it's his own kids. And the way they put it, Fulgrim was always greedy. Fulgrim was greedy. It was never enough for him. And I think the exact phrase was that Fulgrim swallowed a snake and it devoured him from the inside. And I think that started with the concept of perfection. Because if you think about perfection as a concept, it's really a thing that is unachievable. People talk about perfection and they think about the emperor as something that's perfect. But think about the emperor, what we know as the reader. The emperor is far from perfect. He's powerful, don't get me wrong. He might even be a god, but he's definitely not perfect. And if you are a person who relates the word God with a perfect being, I'm sorry, we haven't even seen this in fiction yet or in mythology. Like, I don't even think gods are perfect in my opinion. But anyway, that's a whole different story. Fulgrim's goal was to be perfect, similar to the emperor. How can you be perfect if the mold that you're molding yourself after isn't even perfect? So that being said, that's just my little experience with Fulgrim, and everything post-demonhood we're not even going to talk about because that's basically a different person. It's just wearing Fulgrim's skin, right? So that being said, I'm definitely going to go back and read the Fulgrim novel. And that definitely played. So, like, let me give you, without the point system or me being obstinate, being silly or anything like that, had Fulgrim been forced to be put into the emperor's seat, been put onto the throne, I'm sorry, Duran's guys, but I still don't think he would do very well. Maybe not a complete disaster. Maybe not Chaos wins, but he'd be in between there and mid-peror. So don't unsubscribe. Don't hate me. You're free to come back with another argument and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what. The Palpatine Phoenix is only a 13-hour book on Audible. I'm going to listen to the damn thing. And I'll be back with another video in maybe a few days. And if I'm wrong, I will humbly come before the camera and I will admit that Fulgrim's that guy. And I will wear purple and maybe do something about some white hair. I don't think I can really do that because I have like real life things to do, so I can't. But I'll do some type of tribute to Fulgrim or something. We'll put up a little, I'll get like some type of decoration or something or some fan art or something. But really, that was the whole video. Do you think I'm out of line by putting Fulgrim where I put? Or do you think that this comment is out of line? And if it, don't flame on my love. Also, is it possible that you guys can also leave more comments telling me how much I don't know about the lore? Because it challenges me. I would love to get back in there and learn about the morsels and crannies and stuff like that I haven't digested. So, until next time, it's Ave Dominus Noob saying Ave Dominus Nox.